Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby. This is our weekly newsletter called the 80 Plus column. In case you missed it, just check out our pod from last weekend. We looked at Ireland's win last Friday against the Pumas. I also asked the guests to harp on the Irish coaching setup. You'll find that one back on the YouTube channel feed, or you can get it with the full 80 Plus column, including all our other usual features like Troll Patrol, as well as a roundup of all the other major competitions in the world of rugby. That's all to be found on our website at harpingonrugby.blog. But for now, it's all about our feature known as the Front Five, which is a selection of 5 eye-catching, egg-chasing quotes and links from around the rugby media landscape. Now, we're recording this on Tuesday night this week, so there may be some articles. We usually post this on Wednesday morning. There might have been some articles on Wednesday morning. I can't record then, so there might have been some extra stories come out. These are all the stories I've picked out as of Tuesday evening this week. But as you can see anyway, I've got 5 headings lined up here. So let's crack on with this week's article, starting with the first one coming from extra.ie. It's by Mark Donlan, and the headline reads, Caelan Doris nominated for World Rugby Player of the Year alongside 3 Springboks. Now, of course, that's the obviously the nominations for Rugby Player of the Year. You can see how the headline is about Caelan Doris, but the fact of the matter is there was a lot of Irish nominees. To be honest with you, I can't see Caelan getting it. They're like that headline says, there's 3 South Africans in there, and I'd say one of them is going to get it. There's a debate going on over who that should be. It's between Eben Etzebeth, Peter Steph Detroit, and Cheslin Colby. Personally, I think it'll go to Etzebeth, but there's a strong case being put forward for the other 2, especially Peter Steph Detroit. But I personally think it's going to go to Eben, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Great to see Caelan Doris getting in there. I mean, Ireland did have some good results. I think beating South Africa kind of helped that cause in South Africa. That was quite an achievement there, being able to do that. Plus, of course, winning the 6 Nations for the second year in a row. That didn't hurt either. So good for Caelan. But of course, there's nominees in all the other categories. Well, not all the other categories, but a lot of Irish nominees, and not least the breakthrough player of the year in the men's 15s, Jamie Osborne getting in there. Again, I can't see him winning, but he's definitely a star of that series in South Africa for sure. And a couple of cameos for Ireland this November. He's done well. He's there with Wallace Atiti, who I think might get it, Emmanuel Feyi-Waboso, and Sasha Feinberg Mangemzulu. I'm having to go with that name, sorry. I have a feeling Wallace Atiti might get that one, but we'll see. There's Irish nominees in other categories. International rugby players, men's 15s try of the year, James Lowe's try against England. Of course, that was a team effort more than anything else, but they've scored some really good tries. In the women's 15s, we have a nominee in the women's breakthrough player of the year, Erin King. A couple of tries of getting that famous win over New Zealand in the WXV. But I think in the women's side of things, it's more about who hasn't been nominated. When it comes to the World Rugby Women's 15s Player of the Year, there's some great nominees there. England, France, Canada all represented. A lot of people think Aoife Wafer should be in there. I obviously agree with that, but Ireland, although Ireland have been doing incredibly well over the past while, I don't know if we've really broken into the top echelons there. You look at Aoife Wafer, and her performances are out of this world. She really stood out in all these Irish wins, but they're the games that we've been watching. I think there's a lot of players who've been playing well on the top 3 or 4 nations as well. So we'd love to see her in there, and it's a shame she hasn't been. And we're going to keep shouting for her, and she'll get another chance, I'd say, next year, because I can see her only continuing to get better, as well as the team, by the way. Another Irish nominee was in the 7s, Terry Kennedy getting in there, but I then when you see that, when you're in with Antoine Dupont in any selection or anything, you haven't got a hope, right? So you can see where that's going to go. A lot of people saying Dupont might have even been still managed a nomination in the 15s, but I think even that, I don't even think even he could manage that. But listen, we're pretty much sure he's going to win that 7s award. But listen, a lot of Irish involvement in those nominations, and we wish them all the best. And it's great to see Irish players doing well, and hopefully the ones we talk about, like Aoife Wafer and all, they'll get recognition in the years to come. Okay, that's our first article. Second comes from a website called Rugby and the Law, It's a guy called Ben Cisneros. He's in sports law. He does sports law. We've actually interviewed him on the podcast. We had him on a couple of years ago talking about the whole procedure behind disciplinary hearings and how the mechanisms that go into coming up with these decisions. I'll put a link to it on the blog to if you want to check it back. It's worth a listen. It's the same pretty much every year, and he gave us good insight. And here he gives good insight into the legal implications of this supposed breakaway league that's supposed to happen. Now, of course, we've all got our thoughts on it, and I doubt it. I'm pretty sure everyone would agree with me is that we really hope this does not happen. There is talk of a breakaway league on the style of the IPL, the Indian Premier League, where the best players in the world play for sort of made-uppy teams in a sort of a circuit around, a circus, almost Formula One style. Maybe the way you could say the way the Sevens operates. These teams would go around to all these cities, play each other in all the cities, and there'd be some kind of championship there. And I mean, it's just okay. First, I'll talk about the article in a second. First, my thoughts on this. We spend too much time, the powers that be, the Blazers, the people in charge, they spend too much time chasing what other sports do. Now, I got to say, I am more for innovation in rugby than pretty much anyone. Rugby has a history of being conservative. It took a long time to become professional, and then change hasn't been easy in the sport. We know that. So I'm always in favor of change. But it needs to be the right kind of change. And you do have to kind of realize that change needs to sort of keep within what rugby is and the way rugby is structured. And I really don't think now that they're probably thinking that the IPL model might work because cricket and rugby are similar in that they're only popular in a small amount of countries. So this might be a way of bringing them to these new markets. Like there's it's supposed to be America, place like America and Dubai. I can't see it happening. I can't see the fans buying it. For every new fan it creates, it's going to really piss off a long time fans in the process because it can't help but take from the existing structures we have. And those structures do need fixing themselves. So adding a new layer onto that isn't going to help. So anyway, listen, you can bang on about that all day. Maybe we will soon on the pod, but that's my thinkings on a breakaway league. But anyway, what this article does from Ben is it looks at it from a legal standpoint. And as you can see there on the screen there, we've got a QR code if you want to check out the article. And the quote I've chosen is 3 questions he answers in the article. Would World Rugby sanction the competition? They need their authorization? Would the players remain eligible to play international rugby if they joined this league? And finally, what would happen to their existing player contracts? It's all nerdy, it's all technical, it's all in the weeds stuff, but it's important stuff as well to know. So if you're into that kind of thing, this is a good article for you. It's a good website for all this stuff. He tackles a lot of legal issues to do with rugby all throughout the sport, so it's worth checking out. So that's the second article there. Okay, our third article this week comes from the Independent, as in the UK Independent. And the headline reads, Lions could play Indigenous Australian team for the first time on the 2025 tour. Now, what caught my eye in this story is, see, what they're doing is they had a schedule to play, obviously, the 3 tests against Australia, and then they played what was then the 5 Australian Super Rugby teams. But of course, this happened since then, is that the Melbourne Rebels have ceased to exist. So they're looking to fulfill that fixture with they want the Lions still playing on that night in midweek, during this tour. So what they're saying is now they're going to maybe play possibly a team, an Australian maybe version of the Maori All Blacks is essentially what it is. And they're plugging it, and they're saying, would this be a good idea? I think this is sort of a test. But my question is, why weren't they doing this anyway? This is something that they do a lot of work now to promote First Nation stuff, and they have performed ceremonies before games, to recognize the indigenous cultures there in Australia. But it just seems like the way this is being presented is, we've got a problem, let's fix it. Let's do the indigenous, let's recognize the indigenous people of Australia. And it's just, it's not it doesn't sit well with me as a PR um, practice. But hopefully they're able to sort it out. The quote I've chosen: "It was a matter of how will we pull these ideas together to make a very special game in a massive tour." I think they're trying to sell it. They're trying to market it in such a way as to make it look like it's a positive thing. But as I've said before, maybe this is something they should have done already. This is a acknowledgement in this tour that should have already been there. But anyway, listen, that's my point. First Nation, not First Notion, is the headline for that. And but anyway, I hope it does happen. And they play all the matches they were going to on the tour, and that they present it in a decent way. Okay, article number 4 is from Wales Online, a gentleman called Tom Coleman. Now, of course, we have a Tom Coleman who is a contributor for us on Harping on Rugby. This is not him. He does not write for Wales Online. I can pretty much guarantee that. It's a different Tom Coleman. The article here is first odds released on Warren Gatland's successor as he's tipped to go after Saturday. Now, you don't need to tell you that Wales are in a bit of a state at the moment. Horrible Six Nations. After a decent World Cup, they had a horrible Six Nations. They're on a losing streak of, if you don't count the Barbarians, I think it's 11 matches, but we'll say 10. All their games this year, and it's not looking any better. At the time of recording this, the South Africans have just named their team to play this coming Saturday, and they're not letting up. There's a really strong team, and they just. It's just not happening for them at the moment. There's a big difference between this Warren Gatland reign as coach and the previous one. And the quotes coming out of Warren Gatland, I mean, it's becoming harder for him to defend these situations. He's usually kind of bullish in interviews about that. But even after this heavy defeat to the Wallabies, he says, "I don't know why everyone is looking for the one right answer and the one right question that makes the headline. Is that what we're looking for?" Well, I mean, I'm not a Welsh fan, but I would think, Warren, we're looking for a win, mate. It's a win. That's what we're looking for. There's no complication. There's no right, wrong answer. It's just a win. So that's what I'd say the fans are asking for at this stage, because the longer this goes on, the more untenable it gets. For me, I would, without knowing everything about the situation, but I'd say nobody wants the job yet. I mean, he'd hardly leave now. Who would want to take over another Six Nations campaign? I think their first game is against France in the 2025 Six Nations. So it's just going to could be getting even worse and worse down the line. So who would want to come in and inherit that situation? They might have to eat another disastrous Six Nations the way this is going. I don't know. But anyway, this is the debate, or in the bookies anyway, over who's to replace him. Steve Tandy is the number one. He's 3-1 favorite to take over. I think he's currently with Scotland. I could be wrong, but he's also got a role with the Lions. Ronan O'Gara's name, of course, is in there. He's number 2 on the list. So other names there: Franco Smith, Michael Cheika. I really don't think Michael Cheika would want to get back into Test rugby so soon. It would have to be a hell of an offer. Sean Edwards, why not? He's 12-1, decent outside bet. A lot of names there, but the conversation is really ramping up. I mean, this is one of a dozen articles I could have picked from Wales Online about this issue. But I thought the discussion around his possible successor and the bookies odds and stuff was the one I chose. So that's what I picked there. So that's our 4th article. Now, 5th and final article this week. Now, I have 2 features I do in this 80 plus column. I do one called Clickbait of the Week, where I pick an article that I think is blatantly just trying to get your click for a story that isn't really there, or for something that isn't made up, or they try to hide it. And I have another one where I call Troll Patrol, where I feel it's someone who's online or on social media, basically trolling, trying to deliberately antagonize a certain amount of fans. Now, for the first time this week, the same article is going to cover both of those prizes. I'm going to talk about clickbait version now, and then later, if you look at our 80 plus column on harpinonrugby.blog, you'll see the Troll Patrol version of this as well. This is from the Irish Independent, and it's Rory O'Connor. And the headline reads, "Andy Farrell is preparing the ground for the Sam Prendergast era." Now, we have seen 2 disappointing performances from Ireland overall, right, so far. But at number 10, you've had Jack Crowley, who has played well, pretty much. He wasn't great against New Zealand, but he definitely played well, especially in the first half against Argentina. And he wasn't, although the attack was an issue in those two games, and you can't discuss the attack without discussing the number 10, who is the leader of the attack, as it were, on the pitch. But it I don't think anyone is really questioning the fact that he is the presumptive starter. He had a great Six Nations. He backed up Johnny Sexton at the last World Cup. He's got the experience. He was the next man, and he's done well in that 10 jersey. So we've got Kieran Frawley and Sam Prendergast coming behind him. So I think that's the acceptable way of seeing the way that the Irish 10 jersey pecking order sits right now. You've got Jack Crowley as the presumptive starter. He's got good backup in Kieran Frawley, and he's got promising backup as well for the future in Sam Prendergast. Now, what this article with Rory O'Connor does is it actually takes this debate over Johnny Sexton being involved with the team, right? And he's not officially on the IRFU website. Maybe Rory asked a question at a press conference. He didn't get an answer he liked. Andy Farrell kind of brushed off a question as well. If you read this article, it's behind a paywall. But anyway, I'm telling you, this is what the article says. He didn't get an answer to a question. So now he's writing this article as if he's suggesting, without actually saying it, but he's actually suggesting that there's this secret plot maybe for Johnny Sexton to get the Leinster players into the team. And it's guaranteed going to start a social media blitz of opinion from mostly Munster fans, but also Leinster fans as well. It's ridiculous. And, even just the headline, Andy Farrell is preparing the ground for the Sam Prendergast era. It's like, this is what he's planning all along. He's going to supplant. I mean, when you think about it, if you've got a young player coming into the team, you're always preparing the ground for them because they're going to get older and the players you have now are going to retire. So eventually they are going to take over. So every game is doing that. It's totally disingenuous. The quote I've chosen from the article is, while the ultimate decision about who will be Ireland's number 10 on a long-term basis lies at the door of Farrell, you can be sure that the man who owned that shirt for the last decade is having an influence. So Sexton is getting in there and trying to manipulate what's going to go on. This is classic talk. There's this classic thing. It goes back to this perception that the IRFU is heavily favored towards Leinster at the exclusion of the other three provinces. And there's this kind of group think that is always going to favor Leinster players. And you know what? I can have a discussion about that to a degree, but you can also have a discussion about this over insistence on this conspiracy. I call it the IRFU-minati. That's my word for it. I don't know. But I just think it goes too far. This headline is designed to start a row over something that isn't a row. We've got a situation where it's Jack Crowley, Kieran Frawley, and Sam Prendergast. Three great options, and that is the order in which they are in this Ireland setup. There's other out-halves as well, but I think those three are the top of the pecking order at the moment. And why can't we just be happy with that? Why can't we talk about that? You can write an article about that and make it sound appealing to fans, all Irish fans at the moment. But no, some people think it's easier just to stoke this province v province crap, and it's just I don't think it ever helps. But anyway, listen, that's my point. I think he goes way over the top with this whole concept in this article here. And I don't think it's anything we need to be talking about right now. But that's my 2 cents. Okay, listen, going to leave it there. That completes this week's Front Five. Remember, we do a lot of other regular features on our 80 Plus column. You can get it all by just heading over to our website at harpinandrugby.blog. Next, of course, we will be turning our full attention to our date with the Flying Fijians. For starters, we'll have our preview recording on Friday with Kigo, so look out for that. And please be sure to subscribe to our channel as well as all our other social media platforms. Remember, we're doing our match coverage now exclusively on Blue Sky, so if you're on there, make sure you follow us. And you can find all those links anyway at linktree/harpinonrugby. Until next time, stay safe, everyone. Slán.